Monday, men's mental health. In today's video, let's have a discussion about men with ADHD showing their vulnerability, whether that could be a strength or a weakness. So let's talk about that, because obviously there's a lot of things going on within the mental health kind of manosphere space. Men going the wrong way, red pill and all that kind of stuff. So we do see something going on in the world that of course is really affecting us. Now, as someone who has been diagnosed with ADHD age 37, right now I'm 38, so that was basically like last year, a lot of things started to feel into place. But now that also opened up a whole new door for me to dive even further within my own healing journey and process of spiritual personal development. So looking back to everywhere where I have been within my personal life and professional life and all the ups and downs and all of it, it is very easy to say that lots of us men with ADHD, we had to be strong for a very, very long time to survive, to keep up our image in the world. But then when we open up in a vulnerable way, if we show our emotions, can that work in our favor or can it work against our favor? So this is something I think that we must be very, very aware of before we show ourselves too much. So ADHD, ancestral development and healing disassociation. Like I have been saying for quite some time, like ADHD, perhaps this could be like a neurological pattern that is coming from our ancestors, from our hunter-gatherer ancestors, where men used to fight on the battlefield and who used to hunt in the wilderness for coming back home with game. Now, while being out on the hunt, a man had to be in the zone. He had to use his instincts, his sensitivity to be connected with his surrounding environments. That's what he is perceiving with his 5 basic senses. Could that be a prey or a predator? That is basically what's really going on within our neurological pathway. But now we live in a day and age where that primal force energy that is working for us, like crisis management, but now we live somewhat in a very post-heroic society where men are not going anymore through a rite of passage of moving from boyhood into manhood by going out in the wilderness, going out on a hunt, on military endeavors, or out on the battlefield, where young warriors were basically being initiated in becoming strong leaders of the pack. But now, of course, like even for a lot of men, we live in a society that does not recognize our neurological pathways. Like sure, some of it is like genetics coming over from our parents, and most of this ADHD has been further amplified through our childhood traumas and whatnot, because for lots of men they probably had to endure a lot of hardship and challenge, where they had to be like in constant survival mode, fight, flight or freeze. And then later on in life, when we are moving out of this crisis hot zone within our childhood upbringing, for example, like some of us, we are growing up with single parents, and maybe some of these parents really showed like lots of emotional abusive behaviors that really affected us, and the only way for us to cope with it is going into a fight, flight or freeze kind of reaction, is getting out in our head in order to survive, is to become disassociated from this kind of survival state we were in. And then we become further disassociated from our life, reality and all of it. And throughout our adulthood, we can also see is that most of it we had to be strong basically, and we had to suck everything up. That is like, you know, what it is that we are men as dealing with. And what we are doing is we are swallowing up the frustration, the anger, the fear, the the aggression that is actually very primal to us as ADHD men. And we are trying to hold up this so-called masculine frame. We want to be the stoic, we want to be the rock in the ocean because it's kind of like expected from us. Another thing that is expected from us is like our worth really depends on our productivity in the world. But then later on, what we see now in our modern day culture is we moved away, of course, from living as hunter-gatherers or as nomads, because throughout the history we started to settle within smaller settlements, and villages and towns started to grow around the center of a farm. So we moved into a farmer-based society. Now, through the histories of time, the towns and the villages grow into, of course, the cities that we see nowadays, where our food has been produced by the farm and the global food production corporations. So now what we are doing, we're living in complete disassociated way of living, where we have become highly disconnected from the nature around us, from the seasons, and from our own primal energies that exist within us. And we must hold up sort of like an image or a facade in order to live in this kind of like highly artificial way of living that is absolutely completely out of a line with our inherited nature. Another aspect is, of course, like men used to work together with a tribe of men, a tribe of kingship. Men who went together out on the hunt, hunting together like a pack of wolves. And of course, as a group of warriors going out on the battlefield, or doing even shamanic rituals and ceremonies in order to bring up more the energies they needed to go and conquer and win on the battlefields. This is still something that kind of like exists within us, but right now this is being seen, like our aggression is being seen as toxic. And what we are trying to do is we are trying to suppress so much of our primal nature so far underneath it, because we think we should be ashamed for it, we should feel guilty for it, and then we feel like something is completely wrong with us, and we continue to lose ourselves in the field of self-improvement and all of it. But like the movie of Fight Club, self-improvement is of course nothing more than a masturbation for the mind, where we are neglecting so much of our primal nature. Like, when was the last time we sit along a campfire, making a bit of fire together as a group of men, really talking about life? And I think like men can create a safe space for each other, where they can talk about what is really going on within themselves. The life, the business, the hunt, basically, or the pain they have experienced on the battlefield. Right now we are on different kind of battlefields, of course. Let it be our childhood challenges. But that's what we share. We only share it with other men. That's what's going on within us. We do not share it with women. And women who are saying, like, men have to become more vulnerable, be very cautious of that. Because if you are a man and you are in a relationship with a woman, and the woman says, I want you to be more vulnerable, she could see that as a weakness, or she could use it against you. And then she's looking for another man who's stronger. So I think, like, as men, we have to maintain this masculine frame of being stoic in one way or another, and only be vulnerable with other like minds of lone wolves who had to endure their own hardship and challenges, who had to be strong in order to survive in this world, who can understand where you are from, who are not judging you for falling off of this kind of like society that we have normalized. Because we have primal energies that right now is being seen as toxic and whatnot. I think that we must recognize that as men, we must own our aggression which is needed. Don't neglect it or feel ashamed or feel guilty for it. Not use it to hurt others unless it is needed, if you are, of course, being threatened by someone, by something. Because it's also like needed for you being able to stand for yourself, to stand for what you believe in, your values, your boundaries. So being vulnerable is needed within a tribe of like minds. And that can be used to maintain our frame, our masculine frame of being the shell, the outside protection, the walls, so the feminine can lower herself in the feminine energy to feel safe within the containment that we can offer. But we cannot offer containments when we either are becoming vulnerable to someone who expects from us to be somewhat stoic and offer a frame of containment. Because if we lose that kind of frame, then we are being perceived as weak, or it will be used against us. Something to be very cautious of. Now, sometimes vulnerability can be seen as a strength, where you show a part of your story of where you have been through and what you had to endure and how you had to overcome it. But only tell stories from your scars and not from your wounds. Because if you share your stories from your wounds, once again, there is still an emotional charge within that. And within that emotional charge, then it will be seen that your vulnerability is unhealed trauma. And then it will be perceived as a weakness. And it can be used against you. Unless, of course, you share it with others who have the best interest of holding up a space towards each other. So this is something I think that we need to be very cautious of, especially for those, dealing with ADHD, where it is already so difficult for us to deal with our neurological pathways in a society that is not built and does not really fully recognize these type of primal energies that exist within us. That for us it's very difficult to express that and to kind of like feel alive within a system that takes away the aliveness within us, if that kind of makes sense. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. Simply drop a comment below. And basically every day of the week we could create like a topic for Monday, which is men's mental health. Tuesday, Thursday, which is all about the kind of like the warrior kind of energy of fighting for justice. Wednesday, Wotan Day, it's the day of our shamanic journeys using the power of the runes. Thursday, dedicated to health, wellness, fitness and nutrition, which is that of showing our honor to the god of Thor. Friday, Freya Day, which is that of abundance and financial freedom. And then Sunday could be the day for self-reflection. So anyway, hope that was helpful. If you want to share your thoughts, please let me know, and I look forward to see you all on my next videos. Take care for now.